Alright, now it is time to pull apart the ignition system. So the first thing I'm going to do is pull the flywheel off. To do that, I need a 1 5/16 inch socket on my impact wrench. Makes it look easy, I know, but I wouldn't try to do that without the impact. Well, you can try, it just ain't easy. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hook up the Evinrude puller. I believe this bolt is a 7/8. Yep, 7/8. The impact wrench has to be untightened for this. As you can see, the impact makes life easy. So what I like to do first is pull the main harness off and then pull the parts off. So what I'm going to do is take all the zip ties out of here. I don't know if these were factory or if these were added in. It doesn't really make a difference because they're going to get in the way of everything. So, just bend back the metal tabs there. So it looks like this is the primer solenoid wire right here. One of these wires connects to the temperature sender gauge thing there. It's a warning alarm, not a gauge. Then whatever this box does, it's got a wire going to it too. So I'm going to take that off. For that I need a flathead. Can't find one. Alright, back to work. Now, to save the screw, I'll put it back in. That's it enough. Looks like part of the harness. Splits off down here. Goes down and connects to the starter solenoid there. So I'll pull those off. Got to pull off the big bolts for the starter solenoid there. I believe those are 9/16. Now, with any luck, I'll be able to fish the wires through the starter there. Maybe. Yep. Ah, perfect. So that's most of the wiring off that side. I'll rotate the motor now and get to the other ones. I got two wires running off the main loom right here, going down, connecting the power trim and tilt box. And they connect to this terminal right there, looks like. So pull that out to get my wires off. Can't really see where the other one's going. Thought it was going in there, but kind of looks like it's this top one too. Pull that out. See what happens. one's for a relay, bottom one's for the wire that I need to get out. So perfect. Now I'll put the screws back in, again just for safekeeping. I'm going to get a smaller screwdriver. Now, hopefully, they can pull out of there. Go ahead and pull this box off. Yeah, looks like it might be a tight fit. There's a lot of things going through that little hole. Perfect. Well, dropping screws, but no big deal. So I'll pull the wires out to get that box completely removed too. So those wires I just pointed out, they go to this guy, which was the switch on the front of the motor. So you need to route those around the power pack here, get them up through the harness, get it off so I don't have that box hanging there anymore. This loom right here, and that removes the power trim and tilt box. Now let's pick up all the screws that I dropped. Those are kind of special for it. We've got two more wires here. I don't know why this has two for the overheat alarm, but whatever. Those are off. Zip tie out of there. Now, take a peek at our terminal block. Choke solenoid wire, which is the purple one. The rest of the loom goes to the rest of these guys and plugs into the power pack. Alright, well, no problem. Just gotta get a tool that'll fit these screws. I don't want to sit there and fight with it with the flatheads anymore. So that's just a normal screwdriver. It kind of came in a cheap kit from Harper Freight or AutoZone or somewhere, and the interchangeable tips go into the end. Nice about these is they fit these screws perfectly. So use that to get them all apart, and hopefully get them back into the holes before I lose them all. Now, a little odd, all kinds of things connected to that. Whatever. I thought it was just for the primer, but apparently I was wrong. Don't need to get them all the way back in for that. Next is this big red plug right here. Terminal, whatever. See, that wire did a lot. And two to this, which also runs the voltage regulator. Might as well take the voltage regulator wires off while I'm here. Alright, the harness for the voltage regulator is free. Let me bring the camera up a little so you know what I'm looking at. So what I did, disconnected these, pulled all the wires off. I go to the terminal here. Now I'll disconnect the power pack plug. That's off. Now I just got one wire cable little guy going that way somewhere. Not quite sure what that does yet. See it wiggling down here? That's my choke. Little tiny Phillips, aka curveball. Got on a bad angle, but that off the side, get the wire off. Put this back in a little. Alright, that's off. So now what I can do is hope this thing will reach and fit through there and find its own way out, which it did absolutely perfectly. And at this point, this harness should be pretty loose. Got one there, looks like 7/16. I'm going to use my socket for this. Perfect. It's a power pack bolt. It's going to be coming off in a second anyway, but for now I'll leave it there. And that harness is off. So let me rotate this engine a little here so you can see how it's originally routed should you be trying to put one of these back together. It's also debatable if that was the original routing anyway. And the engine harness is apart. And it's too big for the one picture, but I'll show it to you here. And there it is. Alright, moving on. So first things first, I'm going to remove whatever this thing is. I can check, but it doesn't actually matter. I believe part of the original VROs that came on these things, they were recalled, and the new ones had these things, I think. Could be wrong. And there you go, dropping washers. Alright, so that's our first part. Now let's go ahead and get these coils off. Top two are damaged. See what I mean? I ain't supposed to do that. So I don't really care about the top two. They're getting thrown away. But still got to get the parts off of them. Well, might as well just take all the coil wires off while I'm here. And the plug wires. And looks like it. Alright, fun. Impact can't get in there. Alright, so I'll get a 3/8 wrench. Wrench anyway. Get the rest of these off. So a pro tip here. Take the bottom bolts off first so the coil doesn't fall and keep getting in your way. So this one's kind of in a dumb spot. See how close that is? That's just silly. Had I not have pulled my ratchet off, wrench, whatever, that would have gotten stuck on there. I've done that before. You know, just kind of do this until it reaches the end. Can't get the ratchet off and you can't flip it around to go tighten it back in there. Yeah, that sucks when that happens. Be careful of that. You want to go in there and hacksaw and cut off the bolt to get it free to get your wrench back out. So there's two of the coils. See what I mean about the coil falling in your face? Not face, but you know what I mean. Alright, all the coils are off. Might as well just pull the plugs wires while I'm here. That one's messed up. Let's give the engine a rotate. And we'll get the rest of this stuff off. So, power pack first. That should give us some more room to make sense of what we're doing here. Probably should do the plugs first. I don't have the getting in your way like it's happening to me. You don't got to worry about labeling these which way they go. They only go one way. Kind of nice about them. What you don't want to do is pull from the wires like so. Grab it by the connector body, wiggle it out of there. that's what our 6-cylinder power pack looks like. Some of the older XPs used 2 power packs, I believe, but anyway. This is a single 6-cylinder version. Got some more zip ties here. I don't think I need to get them off, but I'm going to. Also, be careful when you're using, well, you can't see what I just did, could you? Let's fix that. There we go, perfect, look at that. So what I just did was clip the zip ties off here. Stator, timer base underneath, bundle wires, hold them together. Anyway, you want to be careful not to snip any wires when you're using these. Pretty self-explanatory, but fair warning. So I don't want to move this entirely. I kind of have to. So let's get the rest of these off. Might as well. What I like doing is leaving some connected. Just kind of a reference to how to get them back on. Oh, kind of interesting here. Looks like the stator and timer base share the same plug. So I'll be pulling them off at the same time because I don't feel like getting my tool out to get those separated. If you want to see how to do that, I have a video called Johnson Evinrude Electrical Connectors Explained. Give that long, lengthy, overly detailed a watch, and I'll use the tools and get those out of there correctly. I think I remove them too. But anyway, that's about all I can do at this point. With that, get the flathead, get this off. Then I'll rotate the camera to the top, and we'll get the timer and the stator base off. Timer and stator, sorry. Timer base and stator. That's what they're called. So again, for good measure, put the cover thing back on. That will also keep the screws in. See? Tech tip. Got the engine tilted down to make life easy on me. It's a little weirder now working on this kind of angle, but let's call it a auto bolt removal. Yeah, gravity and whatnot. So I've got a small 5/16 socket. I'm going to pull out all 4 of these. Alright, 4 long bolts are out. Now this will slide off and down. It's still being held by the timer base. This little rod right here. Let's pop that off before we get any further so it's not the last thing that holding us up. You have an option to pull it off the ball or off the top up here. I'm just going to pull it out from up here. Well, apparently that bolt came too. But whatever, it works. Now, Phillips, flathead, whatever. We got 4 of those hanging out there. Let's get these off. These little clips would hold it all down, so don't want to lose any of those. This wire out of the way. Alright, all the bolts are off, wiring's all off, ball joint's off, so in theory this wheel would go right on out here. Like so. The only thing left is that wire clamp. Also, I was entirely wrong. The timer base is not attached to that plug. Something else is. But I don't want to let this thing hang here forever. Get inside and get this strap opened. And our stator is off. That's what it looks like. Here's our plug end. I don't know why they separated it. I suppose voltage, generator, and then charge coil, or vice versa. Probably vice versa. But anyway, that's pretty much it for the ignition system. You could debate this as part of the ignition system. That's the voltage regulator. But it's a voltage regulator, not ignition, but doesn't matter. I'll pull that off next. Alright, I got the power head on my balancing fixture here. Yeah. Anyway, I'll pull these bolts out. Look like a 3/8. You'd think I could know by telling by now. Actually, 3/8, 7/16. Nope, I'm done. All 3/8, 7/16, whatever. Now, these things are expensive. You have to be extremely careful with them. The problem with you're going to have is there's no way to grab inside of there to get this thing off easily. And if memory serves me correctly, the bottom is shaped to fit inside of there, so it's not like we can twist and wiggle it off. It's, sometimes they can be a nightmare, sometimes they'll come right off. So I'm going to pull the bearing out, see if that doesn't give me more room. What else do I got? Bolts. Sounds good. Perfect. Nice crank. Nice bearings too. Alright. Well, didn't really help us much, but it did get the bearing out of the way. Alright. Next plan. Screwdriver. Or chisel. Let's use my chisel. That thing's sharp. Nothing like a good gasket tool here, like a good old chisel. Now, I know chisels aren't supposed to be used like this. I bought this chisel for this reason. Therefore, it is made for this. Well, don't know if that helped at all. Let's get some gasket material out of here. Look at that, perfect. So, it's not quite shaped perfectly, but you can move it around a little bit. So if you had a tool that was flat, had two holes that would fit in there perfectly, you could put that on there, pry it down, and that would break the gasket off. So in the future, that's how to do it. But no damage, no foul. No harm, no foul, whatever. Alright, last step is the starter. This one was replaced. I don't know what that cost whoever, but that set somebody back. So, get the rest of these off. Looks like a mixture of halves and 7/16 and 3/8. So I already got a 7/16 on the impact. Let's do those first. Alright, well, it looks like all of those are done. Yep. Alright, 3/8. Let's get the solenoid out of the way. Rubber sticking to it, not uncommon. Now I need a half for the starter. And the starter is off. Definitely not that light. Well, forget about the other side. Let's go do the choke solenoid now. Choke solenoid's really easy. Now that all the wiring's off, I got two bolts holding it in. My love for impacts. And our choke solenoid is off. Now I keep saying choke solenoid. I know it's not a choke solenoid. I know it's a primer solenoid. Who cares? That is the same thing. Well, kind of. Now it's time to finish this off. Last real parts of this power head before I start ripping the internals apart is getting the linkage off. Shift and throttle linkage. So, 1/2" bolt right here. Now, these are special bolts. Don't go losing these. I mean, you ain't gonna go down to Home Depot and get another one of those. Also, keep in mind, there's a spring inside of here. So this moves back and forth. Timer base is attached to it, but timer base only goes so far, and then that kicks over and does the rest. So there's a nice spring inside of there. So keep that in mind. Leave it together if you can. Usually you can, because this whole assembly will slide off, like so. There's a roller bearing down inside of there. Washer bearing, I don't know what these things are called. You see them all the time on Easy Ups though. See right there? No? Yeah, well. Yeah. Oh. No. We can slide this off. That's kind of what our assembly looks like. So what I'm going to do is put a zip tie through there to make sure I don't lose anything. And I'll put the bolts back in. At least near them for now. Another part right there. Bolt, whatever. Nut's not coming out of my socket. It's full of crud. So, before we go any further, this little nut right here has got to come off. That keeps our shift setup from moving. By moving, I mean sliding out. There's our little, let's call it a shift block. Now this will come out together. There should be a bushing on the other side. Hopefully you can see what I did there. I put the rod in and you can wiggle back and forth. So I push it all to one side, push it the rest of the way. Then you can see the little bushing coming out with it. You don't want to buy bushings if you don't have to. So don't lose them. Same thing with this thing. What I've noticed with some of these parts, especially the weird looking ones, they can look really unique and be dirt cheap. And other ones you think, oh, that's going to be easy. No, those are expensive. So, like this rod, for example. It's a rod. You think cheap. Probably $100. This thing looks pretty detailed. It's probably 12. So I don't really know what these things. I could look it up and give you exact numbers, but keep in mind I'm just guessing, and who really cares what it costs because you ain't gonna lose it. All right. One last thing before I go. This little guy up top. It comes to a point, and when you go to grab this, there's a good chance you're gonna slice your hand open. Get that out of there while you remember to. See? See a nice point? Yeah. Screw that.